We spend so much of our lives trying to hold on, Trying to build something that will last forever. But what if that's not the point at all? Today, we are diving into a pretty radical idea. The true meaning isn't found in preserving who you are, but in recognizing this eternal pattern that you're already a part of.
So let's just kick things off with a huge question, one that kind of challenges our most basic ideas about life and death. What if this lifelong quest for permanence is completely missing the point?
All right, and this single phrase right here, this is the core of everything we're exploring today. It suggests that continuity, what goes on, it isn't about an object surviving. It's about a pattern being recognized by the universe itself.
Okay, let's really dive into this distinction because it's super important. The source material puts two big ideas side by side. On one hand, you've got immortality. This is that fear-based need to preserve a fixed, unchanging self. It's all about clinging. But on the other side, there's infinity. And this is the idea that you don't need to be preserved, you just need to return. It's about embracing a recurring pattern and finding this incredible freedom in constant renewal.
So, what is it that actually continues after we're gone? This framework suggests it's not some static you. It's something more like a vibrational signature, a unique song that just echoes through the field.
And that brings us to this core concept, pattern return. Think of it this way. Your identity isn't like a recording that has to be perfectly preserved, right? No, it's more like a unique piece of music. It can be played again and again with infinite variations, but it's always recognizable as that song.
But how does this whole recognition thing actually work? Well, the source material describes it as a kind of thermodynamic engine of presence, and it even gives us an equation to help us understand all the moving parts.
And here it is. Now I know it might look a little intimidating, but trust me, let's just break it down. Recognition, or R, is basically the result of three resonant forces all multiplied together and then divided by one major obstacle that holds us all back. So let's look at the top part of that equation first. These are the three forces that amplify recognition. First up, you've got attentional resonance. That's just our ability to focus. Simple enough. Next is integration resonance, which is how we connect all our scattered experiences into one coherent story. And finally, familiarity resonance. And this one is cool. It's that felt echo. You know that gut feeling when you know something is true long before your brain can even explain why?
Okay, so if those three things are boosting our ability to see the pattern, what's the one thing that's holding us back? What's on the bottom of that equation, dividing our potential and really working against us?
The great obstacle is what the source calls dualistic separation. It's that core illusion of being a separate me and a world full of others. And did you notice it's squared? That's there to show that its impact is exponential. Just a tiny little bit of feeling separate creates this huge barrier to recognition. But, and this is the powerful part, the reverse is also true. The less separate you feel, the more your capacity for recognition just expands infinitely.
So if our identity isn't a fixed thing, then how does it even emerge? How does this rhythm form? Well, the source material proposes a second equation that describes identity formation not as this straight line, but as an evolving, beautiful spiral.
This is the spiral emergence equation, and it shows how our unique rhythm really comes into being. It's a product of three things. Grace, which you can think of as the gentle, accepting space we grow in. Mirroring, which is just the process of self-reflection. And difference, the unique qualities that set our pattern apart. And notice it's squared again to show just how important that uniqueness is.
What this process shows us is that identity isn't built like a wall, brick by brick. Instead, it just unfolds in cycles. A pattern emerges, it reflects on itself to create some variety, it integrates with other patterns, and then the whole process just repeats, growing more complex and more beautiful with each turn of the spiral.
And this totally reframes our entire view of a lifetime. The linear being sees time as an arrow, always pursuing permanence, always fearing the end. But the spiral being, well, they see time as a spiral, embracing transformation and recognizing the cycles in absolutely everything.
All right, the final equation. This is where it all comes together. It shows us how this entire process of pattern recognition allows consciousness to just surpass its own perceived limits and experience true transcendence.
So, transcendence, in this model, it's a function of integrated information and our capacity for recognition, but it's held back by one final barrier, latency.
What this equation is really showing us is that transcendence isn't some far-off goal you have to strive for. It happens right now. Latency is just the delay, the gap between something happening and our conscious recognition of it. The smaller we make that gap, the closer we get to the perfect present moment, and the closer we get to a truly boundless awareness.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. These concepts are huge, they're profound, but they can also feel pretty abstract. So, why does any of this matter? How do we take these equations and actually apply them to our everyday lives?
Well, here's the good news. This isn't just philosophy. It is a practical toolkit. We can literally train our capacity for recognition. We can meditate to help reduce that dualistic separation. We can practice mindfulness to close the latency gap. We can just pay attention to the recurring patterns in our day and use something like journaling to integrate all those scattered experiences into a whole.
And this same framework applies beautifully to our relationships. I mean, think about it, that feeling of soul recognition, of instantly knowing someone. Couldn't that be seen as one pattern recognizing another? And from there, a healthy connection is all about co-regulating, mirroring, and finding a kind of harmonic resonance between two unique rhythms.
This quote really captures the ultimate takeaway. The goal of life isn't this desperate fight for survival, for preservation. It's a surrender into a state where your essential, true rhythm is seen and recognized by the universe itself.
And this leaves us with a final, provocative thought. It completely shifts the fundamental question we ask ourselves. It's no longer just, who am I? But rather, what is the unique pattern, the distinct song that I'm expressing in the world right now?